Hi everyone, my name is Ierie, and this is Reminisce with This, where I take a little time out of my day to sit and reminisce with you on simpler times from all of the different hobbies, collections, and interests that I have obtained over the years. I have said it once and I will say it again, it's not always about the physical form of those things that you obtain that have memories tied into them that keeps these hobbies alive. The memories that I share and the intertwined moments that I have for both the physical form and the memories cultivated over the years is why this hobby continues to be so important to me. There are so many memories with people, places, and things that really do play such a huge, important placement, and why I am so invested into so many different little variations of collections. I don't necessarily limit myself. If I find something that reminds me of some kind of memory of my childhood, or throughout the years, just something that really brings me joy, you best believe I'm going to go ahead and collect it. Now, today is, of course, Throwback Thursday, and no better place to go ahead and start a throwback on something that you may not know of. I honestly did not know about it until a few years ago. Originally, both of these animes did get released back in 2012. I'm pretty sure that's when they released here in the States. Now, I'm not sure if that's how it was overseas as well, but I only found these animes a couple years ago, honestly. I was shocked that this set of animes was something that actually came about. When I first saw them at the record store that I purchased them at, I originally thought they were some form of bootleg or possibly a fan fiction that was sold or whatever may it be, because they had all kinds of things like that at this record store. And when I first saw them, I was like, there's no way I've been missing out on some of these shows. I did not think that there was ever going to be something along these lines. I will say that it is probably up there in my top 3 favorite X-Men related cartoons. Always, of course, we're going to go with the original and the continuation of X-Men, the animated series. I would place this one at the same category of X-Men Evolutions. X-Men Evolutions was just chef's kiss following X-Men the animated series. Now, that one did pertain to kids a little bit more, whereas the animes here definitely pertained to a higher and more mature adult audiences, or teenage audiences, if you will. Now, of course, there are quite a few other X-Men related shows out there, like Wolverine and the X-Men, which I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy that show quite a bit. Now, the art style probably wasn't my favorite with the character developments there, but I will say with the animated series on both of them, they're only a season each, but let me tell you, you will not be able to stop watching. Where some of the art styles of the characters, the character designs, I should say, aren't necessarily what you would call appropriate. They're definitely a little fan servicey, but honestly, they're quite awesome from start to finish. The storylines of each are just something so different, and of course, I will start it off with Wolverine here. This is, like I said, an anime. I did not know when this came out that this was something that was out at the time. It is, of course, a Marvel related show, if I'm not mistaken. This was made by Marvel. It was approved by Marvel. So why they chose to end these two series after just the one season is beyond me, quite honestly, because they were so good. The art styles were awesome, and I just think that they may have missed their mark at that time, and maybe if they would have come out in this day and age, they would have more seasons, because anime has become so much more popular over the years, where people are watching a lot more of things of this type of nature. Now, I originally was watching a lot of anime back in 2012, but how this slipped through the cracks for me is honestly beyond me. It does follow Logan's story, and of course, the love of his life. And I'm just going to give you a slight synopsis here. They go back to Japan and, forced back into Japan as it states back here. And it's just one of those fun little stories. I'm not going to go too much into detail for it because I don't want to give away too much of this anime. But let me tell you, from start to finish, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I will say, out of the two here, they were both amazing, don't get me wrong, but out of the two, the one that was my favorite, that I have caught myself watching time and time and time again, would definitely have to be the X-Men animated anime. And of course, this one is just from the characters that they chose to go with. It has armor, it has, of course, Beast and Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, Emma Frost is in it, and of course, it's just from start to finish an amazing, amazing show. I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be as good as it was because there was only that one season, but after I watched it fully the first time, the second time, and the third time, as I didn't want to miss anything the first couple times I watched it, but it was just like every single time was the first time watching it because there was always something that I was just in awe of, from the characters, the character development, the little backstories that they have. And, it kind of shows the separation after a loss of a team member and how they all come back to getting together and what that story entails. And honestly, it is an anime that is located and started in Japan. So of course their storyline is of Japan location, and just the overall story and how creative it was for me. Now, I do believe that they have similar things like this in the comics where, this certain storyline was very similar to those. But this one, I definitely just thought this was a unique and dynamic story from the very start to the very end of it. I wish that like I said, it would have continued because I felt like, this has a lot of possibilities of continuing on to be such a great anime, as I already really enjoyed it a lot. Now, of course, like I said, these did come out in 2012, so they might have a little bit of that 2012 art style, but still, and slightly, I'm not going to lie, there is that fan servicey aspect of them, but well worth a watch. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend, just simply for the fact that these animes really do hold something special. They're unique, and I really cannot stress this enough of how good of a artistic style this is. It's very much so like you're watching or reading a manga right in your hand that is, of course, very detail oriented. And, compared to the X-Men animated series from back in the day, they were well done art style wise. They're timeless in what they are, but this, you could see every little line of, the strands of hair and things like that, just like a typical anime. So you do have a little bit more of those artistic sides being showcased, whereas, the animated series, you have a little bit more of the blunt character developments of the character styles and things like that, because it was definitely more pertaining to the child-like watcher at the time, or like the young teenage watcher, where this is definitely more for the older teenagers to adults. And again, I could not speak more highly of both of these. If you have not seen them, I highly recommend them because honestly, they're just great to see, and they're great to add to the collection if you haven't already. Now, of course, I wish, I've said this already, but I really wish they continued these. And if I'm not mistaken, there are a couple other of the animated or anime-styled and Marvel shows. Now, I have not picked those up because they weren't necessarily something I was too interested in at the time. When I picked these up, I was still kind of weary about how good they were going to be, but price point for me being able to find them for roughly about $5 a piece, I should have honestly gone back and seen gotten the others because of how well these were done and how great of stories they really were. But at the same time, at that point of where I was at with them, I kind of felt if I were to get into something even more and enjoy it, just for me to know that it's only going to end after the one season, why get into it further? Because like these two here, I really did love this story for both of them. But I will say that if you are going to pick one out of the two, I would definitely check out that X-Men one first. And just see if you like it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can find them possibly on some streaming services or something along those lines, but I highly recommend you check them out because they are really great. I remember when I first got these and who I watched them with. I watched them with an ex of mine, and as we watched them, we were both just looking back at each other like, holy shit. This is really well done. We were both talking about it and like had discussions afterwards where I showed this particular ex just more of the X-Men animated shows and stuff like that because we both just wanted it to continue. And quite frankly, I really wish that I would have been able to get into more of this time period back in the day, because quite frankly, again, when these came out in 2012 was like my peak anime watching time. I really was watching all different types of animes and things like that I probably would have trying to locate them at an earlier date and time if I had known about them. Now, I wish and pray that maybe one day they'll dive back into them at some point, or some kind of anime subgenre of the X-Men franchise, but I don't see that coming out about anytime soon with X-Men 97 being so prominent. But you never know, they could do a what if series as if, they are in that type of universe. Now, we know that that is a possibility, as the What If series have definitely been tapping into all different types of stories and universes and things like that. So who's to say that they won't necessarily bring this back at some point in time? So here's to hoping that they will. I definitely recommend, again, taking a gander at these if you have not seen them. They are so worthy of a good watch and thorough sit through. They are about roughly 284 minutes long. The X-Men one is 287 minutes long. So of course you're looking at a couple hours of these shows here. And again, I could not speak more highly of them. If you are an X-Men fan and you did not know about them, or you're just a Marvel fan in general, and this is something that you were also, that something had slipped through the cracks for you, I definitely say check it out. You never know what you're going to find within it, the type of characters that you enjoy from watching that. I actually, because of this one, the X-Men anime, I did get to find a new character that I did not know about, and I dived into quite a bit from this series, and that's Armor. I did not know of the character prior to this anime, and being able to dive into that character and how awesome this particular character was. She actually, the voice actress for Armor is the same voice actress that redid all of the Sailor Moon from the re-release of the original series and Sailor Moon Crystal. So that was awesome to hear this particular character be played by an anime that I already knew so well. And so that was awesome to have that kind of intertwined there. And, I'm happy to see that some of because of the voice actress two of my favorite franchises are somewhat coinciding together. And, I cannot stress this enough that I absolutely love, love, love these animes. They're just honestly timeless. So if you have not seen them, go ahead and check them out. I really recommend it. And as for that, that's basically what it is for today's Throwback Thursday. Not anything crazy, just more so talking a little bit about something that you may have missed. And, it's something that I was shocked when I found it. So who's to say that you may be just as shocked? So thank you for sitting and reminiscing with me a little bit on this. I probably sounded a little redundant at times, but it's just because this particular anime, I didn't want to give anything too specific away and ruin it for someone that may have not seen it. Yes, it came out in 2012, but does not mean everybody had the opportunity or the knowledge to see these animes. As myself, I did not know, and I would be quite bummed if someone went into a deep dive and kind of spoiled something that I hadn't seen yet. So if you go ahead and take a gander at it, if you watch it for the first time, come back at a later date and let's go ahead and discuss it if you would like. Leave a comment below, and if you really like this and if something that you learned new today by finding out that X-Men and Wolverine had an anime series, go ahead and leave a like as well. If you would like to see more of my content over the next few weeks, or just in general, go ahead and leave me a subscribe. Now, I really cannot thank you enough for sitting with me each day of the week, because it really does give me a little bit of a time just to really reminisce with my own thoughts and memories and the things that I hold dear. So being able to share that with you really does make it that much more special. So with that being said, I hope that you have an amazing day. And if no one's told you today that you are loved, cherished, and or cared about, just know that I love you, I cherish you, and I care about you. Thank you so much for stopping in today with me. My name is Ierie, and this was Reminisce with This. And again, I will catch you tomorrow. All right, peace.